And welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. I'm David Burnett with another edition of this great show. I hope everybody is having a good evening at this point. I want to say hello to my fellas. Go, Earl Rush in Washington, D.C. Hello,
Hey,
Earl.
David. How you doing, David? I'm doing well. Great to see you.
Great to see you as well. Larry Abels, how are you, our NBA expert?
I'm fine, David Burnett.
Okay. And Chuck Snowden. Chuck, how are you?
David, I am absolutely terrific. And I have to ask you, though, how are you doing? And where are you again?
I'm in a city in the Midwest. And that city, as you know, is the sports capital of the United States and the world. Indianapolis, Indiana. All right. Now that we've got that out of the way,
Hey, nap time.
here we go. An interesting and almost historic sports week last week. Tiger Woods, Eldrick Tiger Woods, made a return to golf. Incredible. Just incredible. Let me just go around the panel and just get your thoughts, because I'm going to tell you, the first time I really got into Tiger Woods was when he won the Masters 25 years ago.
Today.
25 years ago today.
Today.
Let me start with you, Chuck. Your thoughts about Tiger Woods and his return.
I was so glad to see him back. I really was. I can't use words too big to explain how excited I was. You know, over the last 15 years or so, there's two athletes. One is LeBron, the other is Tiger, and I just can't get enough of them. And I just was excited when he came out of there on Thursday in that, off red shirt, mock neck. He just looked absolutely great, and I walked 18 holes with him. So I was glad to see him back.
Larry, your thoughts about Tiger Woods and his return?
Well, I was certainly happy to see that he has made enough of a recovery from his accident that he could actually participate. And I was hoping he would have some modicum of success, and at least he made the cut. Happy he was able to finish, and participate in the Masters this year. It was good to see him.
Earl, how much of Tiger Woods did you see, and your thoughts about his return?
I thought it was a miraculous return. I was ecstatic to see the greatest golfer of all time come back. Despite all his setback, trials, and tribulations, I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him. And I just thought it was a great situation.
You know, it was really interesting how ESPN and CBS covered Tiger Woods. It was really the Tiger Woods tournament. Irrespective of all the other golfers, it was almost a tribute to Tiger Woods and the fact that he was able to come back. He still is the number one marquee figure in professional golf, and that's been a 25-year run. It's just incredible. The only concern I have, and we talked about this the other day in our production meeting, is I know he made the cut. I know he was under par on day one, but day 3 and 4, he struggled. He was limping. He's got a completely reconstructed right leg. The fact that he was able to walk that golf course is an incredible accomplishment. But Tiger Woods is the consummate competitor. And my concern as a fan, let me tell you, my fandom of Tiger Woods is such that of his 80 plus PGA and major tournament wins, I think I have seen almost completely at least 70 of them. And that might be a low number. I've seen it, the overwhelming majority of every one of his victories on the PGA and championship tour. My concern now is Tiger Woods willing to be essentially at 46 years old, a ceremonial golfer? because that's what he was on Saturday and Sunday. Let me start with you, Earl. Do you see Tiger Woods as a ceremonial golfer at this point?
No, I don't see it at all. He'll know if it comes to that. If that's what it comes down to, he'll need it immediately. He won't even ponder, and he won't even ponder about, do I still have it? He knows when he'll still have it.
Does it trouble you though to see him struggle and knowing he's got these physical limitations coupled with the fact that he's 46? Does it trouble you at all, Earl, to watch him?
No. He knows what he's doing. He knows. He thought that he could win it. When he came back, he seriously thought that he could win it. A year, he'll find out whether it's time to kick it up or not. But he only plays to win. He only plays to win. It doesn't trouble me. He'll know when it says, I just can't do it no more.
Okay, fellas, and let me ask you, Larry. Did it trouble you to see him struggle to conclude the tournament?
It didn't trouble me. But the fact of the matter is he hasn't played very well for the last 10 years. So I was glad that he could. I hope he improves. I'm not under any illusions that he'll be anywhere near what he was before, but hopefully he can win another tournament or two. Ceremonial, sure. I think he's he's a draw for the TV. He's a good. So I don't know if you mean by ceremonial. If he's certainly going to draw attention when he plays. But
let me just explain what I mean by ceremonial. You know how when they trot out Jack Nicklaus and some of the others, where they used to trot out Arnold Palmer, and guys well past their prime, and that's my concern about Tiger at this point. And let me hear from you, Chuck. Your thoughts. And maybe I'm being too harsh.
You know what? Jack Nicklaus was 46. I think that was the last time he won the Masters. He was 46. When you hear that great call by Lundqvist when he goes, maybe, yes, sir. And Nicklaus makes that birdie and they go, he was 46. Look, I think Earl said it perfectly. I think that Tiger thought he could, and this is crazy. I think Tiger thought he could win that tournament when he teed it up. But the victory for me, and I think a lot of us, was that he was in the tournament. And the fact that he made the cut too, and I think he won't. I think it won't. If he played bad for multiple times, and he knows that he doesn't have it anymore, I think he will step away. But I don't think he's there yet. I really don't. And
let me ask the question, another question, a related question, and then we'll move on from Tiger Woods and talk about the winner. Will golf allow him to step away if he gets to the point where he's not actually competitive? Golf depends on Tiger Woods, the salaries, if you will, the prize money, the endorsement money, everything quadrupled, quintupled, shot off like a cannon because of Tiger Woods. These 25 years are Tiger Woods' result. He's the one that caused golf to zoom like it did. Will golf allow him to step away? Because it seems like they need him. Let me ask you, Larry.
If he plays poorly, yeah, they'll allow him to step away. As long as he can play decently, he starts missing a few cuts. Yeah, it'll take care of itself.
Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah, here's the thing. Go ahead. Go.
I'm listening to David, and David's telling me that he's seen all 70, the majority of Tiger Woods win. And I believe that. But I'm having trouble why he would even think that Tiger would become a ceremonial golfer when he's seen he win over 70 times and knows this guy's nothing but a straight up competitor. He couldn't even do it any other kind of way. I know the situations where, like Willie Mays or a lot of great athletes don't retire before they supposed to. As a matter of fact, most of them do. I get exactly what you're saying. but I don't see that in Tiger Woods.
No, but let me push it back to the question I'm asking in this case. Golf needs him. The ratings spike because of Tiger Woods. When there's no Tiger Woods at a tournament, golf's ratings are average or below average at best.
You're 100%.
He's appointment television. And this week, even with all his limitations, the camera was on every single movement of Tiger Woods. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right, David. Look, even the practice round on Monday, they said there were 4 and 5 patrons deep just to watch him in the practice round, because what Tiger did when he was at his height, I can't even explain how great that was. You know, they showed a stat one time where they said the second place guy, Tiger was number 1 in the world. The second place guy to Tiger was closer to the 200th player than he was to Tiger in terms of points or whatever that thing was. So he was so great at his height that Vegas, if you took Tiger versus the field, you'd lose like you would have to, you know, the odds were, you could take the field and you have to take a lesser bet, or you know, you wouldn't get the same payoff. It wasn't 1-to-1. He was that dominant. Yeah, he was the favorite against the field. Mm-hmm. And these are the greatest players in the world, not even in the country. So he was so great. So to expect him to ever be that guy again, no. But he won the Masters 2 years ago. And on certain courses, I never count that guy out. And when he's ready to walk away, he'll know it. He'll know it.
I agree mostly with what you guys are saying. And of course, Tiger Woods is going to know when he can't do it. But it's going to be painful to, you know, to see him exit. Yeah. He has been. I don't think we can debate it anymore. Right. You know, people can say it's Jack Nicklaus. No, the greatest golfer in the history of golf is Tiger Woods. Period. You know, I don't know if anybody on this panel, the Real Fellas panel, is going to debate that. He's the greatest golfer of all time. He's won at a higher rate than any other golfer in the history of the sport.
He was a lot nicer too, David. He was like, I thought his interviews and the way he was, you know, responding to the patrons, it was good to see Tiger in a good place. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk about the winner of the tournament, the Masters, Scottie Scheffler. Now, he did some tigerish type of things in the last 2 months. In the last 8 weeks, he's won 4 tournaments. Nobody does that except maybe Eldrick Tiger Woods. And Scheffler, to my knowledge, I think these are his first 4 wins on the PGA Tour.
First major.
What did you see of Scheffler? You know, we can kind of forgive him for missing a couple of putts on the 18th hole of day 4, but he swept the field. Earl,
he's hot right now. He's got an all-around game. Excellent putter. I thought he played great, and I think he's going to be up in the top echelon for a while. From what I've seen from him last couple of weeks, that's what I think. I think it's pretty good right now.
Larry,
I'll echo what Earl just said, but I'll emphasize right now. And I'm a casual golf watcher, but I think one of the reasons Tiger is still so popular is it seems like a lot of people get hot for a while, for a short period of time. So over the last few years, I've been hearing this next person, and then they seem to fade away. You know, they don't have the staying power. If he continues the way he is, I think he'll do great. But certainly he's hot right now. He had a great tournament, other than the last hole, but you know, he was dominant. I saw a lot of them on Saturday and Sunday. He looked great.
Let me ask you, Chuck, and on the same vein, just to drill down a little deeper on Scottie Scheffler, what would Scheffler have to do to recreate or even get close to the energy and, confidence and competitiveness of Tiger Woods? What would he have to do? How many wins would he have to get?
I don't think he could get to that point, David. And the reason I say that is when Tiger was at his best, he was the best driver, he was the best putter, he was the best chipper. He looked the best in his clothes. He was the best in best physical shape. He was just that dominant. And Scheffler reminds me a little bit of the guy who didn't make the cut just recently. He's also from Texas, and they talk about he's an Under Armour guy. What's his name? And they said that guy was supposed to be the next thing, and he didn't even make the cut in the Masters right now. I think Scottie is good right now. He's 25. Like you said, it's his first tournament. He won his first tournament 4 weeks ago, or 4 tournaments ago. But I don't think he could. I mean, that's just unfair to put anybody in that neighborhood with Mr. Woods. He won the Masters 4 days under par. He was 10 under. When Tiger won it 25 years ago today, in 1997, he was 18 under.
So, you know your numbers.
Yeah.
You know your numbers.
I know Tiger. I
think it'll take I don't even think anyone can. There's Richard Turner. I don't think anyone can duplicate what Tiger did, but I think Scheffler or anyone else, I think what they'll have to do is consistently win over a few years. Like Tiger will hold all 4 titles at Masters at one time.
All 4 majors, right?
Right. If these guys can win 1 or 2 every year consistently, then I think they'll get some of the notoriety. And that hasn't happened.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. And I think golf, their dependence on Tiger is related to that very point. You don't yet have anyone that's caught fire and stayed strong consistently. Remember back in the day, almost 20 years ago, when David Duval won a bunch of tournaments in a row, in a short period of time, and then suddenly he was gone. I think he won like 8 or 9 or 10 in 2 calendar years, and then suddenly he was done. He couldn't hit the side of a barn. We never heard from him.
Rory McIlroy. I mean, people were talking about Rory a couple of years ago that he was going to be the next Tiger. Although he had a hell of a day on Sunday, shot a 64 on Sunday, and came in second in the tournament. But Tiger is just, he's just so much better than everyone. So those are high standards to expect a Scheffler. Although I like Scottie's demeanor. I think he's a humble guy. I like that about him.
Indeed. Well, that's going to wrap up our golf discussion, gentlemen. I appreciate the discussion on golf. And I'm not a golfer, but I'm a golf watcher and been watching ever since I was a kid. And all my hosannas go out to Tiger Woods and everything he's done for professional golf and for the casual golfer and golf fan. Anyway, let's talk about the NBA and the play-in. And the play-in tournament confuses me. Is it a tournament? What is it? What teams are involved? And I'm gonna go to our NBA expert, because we have multiple experts on this panel. But I'm gonna go to our NBA expert, Larry Abels. And Larry, can you briefly explain the play-in tournament and what the NBA did a couple of years ago to expand the playoffs? And do you think the play-in tournament, the play-in games are actually part of the playoffs?
Okay. Technically, they're not part of the playoffs with respect to stats. They announced that last night. Yeah. But we'll say it's part of the postseason because the regular season is over. So what happens in the NBA? Prior to 2 years ago, the top 8 teams in each conference made the playoffs. What the NBA decided to do was they guaranteed the top 6 teams in each conference a spot in the playoffs, and teams 7 through 10 had what's called the play-in playoffs. Okay. So in the play-in, it starts with teams 7 and 8 playing each other, which happened last night in both conferences. the winner of that team automatically gets a spot. The loser of that team still has one more chance to win. And why is that? Because tonight teams 9 and 10 are playing each other. And the winner of that game will play the loser of last night. So the winner of 9 and 10 plays the loser of 7 and 8 on Friday. And the winner of that game will be the second team that goes in the playoff as the 8th seed.
Okay, now just so I'm clear. Now, last night the Timberwolves beat the Clippers. Are the Clippers out?
No, the Clippers they'll play the winner of the 9 and 10. The Clippers were team seeded number 8. So the team 7 and 8 have 2 chances to win one game. So even if you lose, if you're 7 or 8, if you lose the first time, you get another shot at it. Teams that are 9 and 10 have to win 2 games. They have to win the 9-10 game, then they have to defeat the loser of the 7-8 game, which is the Clippers and Cleveland.
Okay. All right. Now that you have explained that, thank you, sports doctor. Oh, I'm sorry. That's Earl's title.
I could be the NBA doctor.
You're the NBA
I could be Dr. A.
Dr. A as opposed to Dr. J.
Trademark
stuff. What do we see so far? What have we gotten from the NBA regular season into the play-in, into the playoffs? What are we seeing from the NBA playoffs? Who's going to be the teams to watch? And let me ask you, Chuck.
It's a good question. That's a very, very, very good question. Clearly, it looks like, Phoenix and Memphis on one side. And then on the East, I have no idea. It should be fun. It looks like Milwaukee should have an edge because they won last year, perhaps. But I wouldn't guarantee that. In fact, I think they got a tough matchup against Toronto, right? They play the Bulls. Right?
Yeah,
I think they play the Bulls.
Yeah.
That's right. And I also think after last night that Boston Nets game should be good. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to the East, and we'll see who comes out of that thing.
Earl.
I'm seeing that I underestimated Boston. I always said that they needed a new coach, and they got rid of that your man from Butler, Stevens.
Oh my God!
Kicked them upstairs, and I guess I underestimated that they were still going to be sorry. But this new coach, who I think should have been the coach of the year, Boston is a threat. Boston could possibly come out of the East. This is what I've learned. This is what I'm seeing right now.
Well, let's do a little glitter. Let's talk some glitter time. So that means we're talking the Brooklyn Nets, not the New York Knicks, but just down the way, the Brooklyn Nets, part of New York City. They've got 2 of the most impressive players in the NBA in many, many years. Can Brooklyn upset or win the East? Earl.
Yes, they can. To answer your question, yes, they can upset and possibly win the East. Yes, they can. No doubt.
They play your Boston team, Earl. You still think they can win it, huh?
I'm quite aware of the schedule. I understand. The only games that I question is see who wins between the 9 and 10 teams. I'm well aware of what the schedule is. I'm well aware of who they play next.
Okay. My bad. You went on about Boston, and then you said that you just can win. Oh, so here's the thing. I find that a fascinating series, and I know that Williams is out. If Williams wasn't out, I would think Boston could beat New Jersey. With Williams not there, I think New Jersey will probably win that. But I don't know. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to watching.
First of all, let me get you correct. I know we're all
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
I keep saying who?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Sorry about that.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. Larry.
Okay. Well, I wanted to. I'll answer this question, but I wanted to comment on what we've seen in the NBA too, as well.
Oh, absolutely.
I didn't get a chance to respond to that. Brooklyn will have to beat Boston and Milwaukee to get out of the East. And that's and one more team, whoever
Right.
wins the upper bracket. But I think that's a very tough road for them, given that they haven't really played that much together this year. I think it'll be a challenge. They're not going to be easy to beat, but I don't suspect they'll beat both of those teams. Now, your original question, what have we seen about the NBA? Chuck mentioned one of the things I was going to mention. Williams is hurt, so I think that gives Brooklyn a better chance of beating them than I thought. I would think that Boston would definitely beat them if Williams is there. The other person injury that's significant is Luka got hurt. Luka Doncic got hurt, and that's devastating to Dallas. I mean, he's certainly the glue to that team right there, and he has a strained calf, and we don't know when he'll be back. That was last Sunday. It might heal in a week. Sometimes those things last longer, so that's going to throw the monkey wrench in the whole playoffs. But overall, I'm liking Phoenix. I don't know who's going to come out the East either. I'm looking forward to all of this.
Yeah.
So you like Phoenix to win the West?
Yes.
When all is said and done.
Yes.
What about Memphis? You know, is it that Memphis doesn't have the playoff experience? Is that kind of mark against them? They have the second best record in the NBA.
Yeah, I think the difference between them and Phoenix is Phoenix's experience last year, and Memphis was eliminated in the first round last year. Phoenix got a lot of experience, and I think they just have a better team. But Memphis is certainly good.
Well, let me just go to this, and I'll throw this out to all three of you guys. And you know, over these last number of weeks, I have been hit over the head, and I think I have now waken up and gotten conscious to the fact that Memphis has a pretty good team, even without Ja Morant. I'm slow sometimes. Even without Ja Morant, they had a fabulous record. Does that signal either a great coach or just great players who don't get the limelight that they should? Earl.
Well, it just means they just have a lot of depth, and the depth doesn't necessarily have to be the great players. And because they have a lot of depth, doesn't necessarily mean it's because of the coach. They could have a good general manager, but I think it's because they have depth. To answer your question, I don't think it's because they had great players, other great players, and the coach is doing a great job. As I said, you can have depth, good depth, but the players don't have to be great. I don't see that they have a lot of great players, so I can't agree with what you're asking.
Okay, Chuck.
I think they have another thing too, guys. I think they have this chemistry amongst themselves. They have a swagger, and that swagger is from 1 through 12. And it will be interesting to see if that translates into the playoffs. And I think I'm looking forward to that, to give Phoenix a run for their money. I'll tell you another thing. I'm not a big fan of them, but Steph, Draymond, and Clay are all back in the playoffs. Could they make a run through this thing? They're all back, and they've got a couple of championships themselves. I'm not a huge fan of them, but a lot of people, have a little eye over that group.
Well,
Now, you mentioned Golden State. I think part of the magic of Golden State was them being the centerpiece of Oakland, California. And they're now back in San Francisco, where they haven't been in many, many years. And I know it's the same market, but there's kind of an intense rivalry. And there was a pride that Oakland had, housing the Warriors. And now they're in San Francisco, and now you got players. You've got injuries. I just don't know if the big three, if you want to call them that, of Golden State can make a return. They're just too battered and bruised, because all three of those players have some form of injury over this past season. And, Klay Thompson, the past 2.5 seasons. Larry.
David, where they play, I don't think has any impact on it. Klay Thompson.
Well, you know me.
Father Time is having an impact on them. Klay Thompson's injuries are having an impact on them. Where they play, they have a veteran squad. I believe they're the 3rd seed, and that would be a good test for Memphis if both teams get that far. I always look for some upsets somewhere too, though. So, but that would be a good test for Memphis. I would expect Memphis to be able to beat them. Your original question about Memphis, is it a sign of good coaching? Yes. You say good players don't get the limelight. For those of us that watch TV, I see them plenty of time. They get plenty of limelight. All you have to do is tune them in. They may not be household names so other than job, but those guys can flat out play. Don't know how they'll do in the playoffs, though, when you have to make adjustments. And usually I go with experience in the playoffs. So that's their bugaboo. But I expect them to get further than they did last year. That's for sure.
All right. Now that's our playoff preview. Let's talk regular season MVP. And, the interesting thing about the MVP race this year is that arguably the 4 top candidates for MVP, 3 of them are not United States citizens. And, that is a benefit of the fact that the international game has become so good. Who is the MVP of the regular season this year? Chuck, let me start with
I'd give it to Embiid. And I mean, it's just a smidge. I mean, if you ask me an hour from now, I might even change my mind. But right now, I would give it to Embiid because defensively, his offensive numbers are about the same as everyone else, if not better. But defensively, he is a little bit better. And so I'd give it to Embiid.
Okay, Embiid for you. Larry, MVP for you.
I've been Embiid all year. I'm not going to go away from him now.
He called it in September. Shit.
Yeah.
Earl, MVP this year.
Embiid.
Okay. Well,
how about you, Dave?
I'm going to have to break this up. You know who the best player is. You know who the MVP is. Of course, he's not from Indianapolis, but he's from a city almost the same size. His name is Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's the best player in the world, the most valuable player in the league. Defensively, offensively, he's hitting his free throws, he's hitting his mid-range jumpers, and an occasional three-point shot to just stir things up. He's tough as nails. Mm-hmm. Even when he gets hurt, he finds a way to get back on the court, and that's a direct slam to another guy that's about his size. You know who I'm talking about.
Anthony Davis, right?
Thank you. I didn't want to even say his name. I think it's Giannis. All right. We talked the playoffs. We talked the MVP. Let's move on. Before we move on, any closing thoughts on the NBA?
I think I want to make a mention about Coach of the Year, and we touched on it earlier in terms of how well this is done this year. But I think the coach from Memphis, if I were voting, would be Coach of the Year. And I know that the coach Monty has done well out in Phoenix. I know the guy in Milwaukee's done well, et cetera. Earl talked about the guy in Boston, but I'd give it to the coach in Memphis. I think he's been amazing to me.
Okay.
I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I certainly think I like Williams. I like Eric Spoelstra in Miami. I think he's done a lot. He's the number 1 seed, probably the least talent of the teams that we're talking about, but he gets a lot out of them. But it's just like the MVP. It's 4 or 5 of them that it's going to be hard to argue with.
Right.
One thing just to note, and Earl, your thoughts on the Coach of the Year before I make a mention of this.
Oh, Chuck said it right. I will go with the guy from Boston.
Okay. Today, Monty Williams, the coach of Phoenix, was given an honor by his fellow coaches as Coach of the Year. So he's done a fantastic job. Phoenix has won 64 games,
Yep.
An incredible run, and it would be a shame if they do not win the championship, which they won't. I'm going to tell you, they're not. But it would be a shame. I'm a big Monty Williams fan, and I became much more of a fan of his, when the tragic loss of his wife several years ago when he was an assistant. All right, let's move on. We had you talk about tragic losses. Let's talk Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins, the backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, formerly with the Washington Commanders, at that time as the Washington football team, and I think he was there when they were still known as the Redskins. Dwayne Haskins, who threw 50 touchdown passes at Ohio State in his last season there, from Washington, D.C., was struck and killed by a truck on a highway in Florida, where he was working out with his teammates in Pittsburgh. I was shocked. A kid, 24, almost 25 years old, life snatched away from him that soon, in that manner. Guys, any thoughts about Dwayne Haskins as we go around and talk about him? Earl, I want to start with you.
No, I don't have anything to say. Nothing intelligent. Not too much anything you can say. All I can do is prayers go out to his family. That's about all that I can say.
Yeah. It was a tragedy. It's as big a tragedy as you can even think of. We had a guest on the show a couple of weeks ago, Cornelius Green. He wore number 7 at Ohio State, and Dwayne Haskins wore number 7 as well. And Cornelius is really good friends with Dwayne's dad, and he was as big as you can be at Ohio State. He, like you said, he had over 50 touchdown passes there. So he played in the same conference as Charles. We've had Charles on too, and when Bullets played St. Albans, Charles sacked him 3 times in that game. And in fact, I always joke with people because I never thought of Charles as a football player. And I think people were coming to see these kids from Bullets, because Bullets had 4 or 5 guys who went on to Division I. And they said, well, who is that kid? And I swear to God, I think that's how he got some exposure. But anyway, the point is, it's a tough one. It's a real tough one. And who knows? Maybe we may never find out what happened.
Larry.
Yeah, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family and loved ones. I always thought that he never really got a fair shot here. I think he got coaches that really didn't want him here. The owner did, and
right.
I think it was unfulfilled potential. He probably was a little immature, and I think, like Corny said a couple of weeks ago, it's a good thing that he went away from this area. Seemed to have settled down, and had a coach that I think wanted him there. And I was hoping he was going to at least get a shot. Who knows how he would have made out, but more importantly than all of that, I'm sorry that he's gone. And life is so fragile. He's a year younger than my son, so it's one thing when guys our age die, it's kind of shocking, but when people your kids' age die, it really kind of hits you even harder.
Well, let me ask you this, guys. Charles said we might not never find out what happened. Does it matter if we do find out?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
I'm just asking.
Well, it depends.
Everyone is talking about, well, what happened? What happened? The man's dead. That's all we know. He's dead. He's not here no more.
Well,
it could be human nature. It could be human nature for everybody to wonder what happened, I guess, I would imagine.
Well, I think at some point, once we get through with our own personal grieving and concerns for his family and wishing them well as they grieve, there are some questions about how you get killed in the early morning hours on the highway. Anyway, that being said, we're all Washington connected. You guys are all physically in the greater Washington, D.C. area. And we didn't talk about this on the production meeting the other day, but Washington, D.C. football, the Washington Commanders, led by Dan Snyder. Congress is looking very closely at how he and his minions have handled gate receipts and season ticket
Refund.
number. I mean, refund. I mean, what's going on? And just real quickly, just to talk about Dan Snyder, I know, Earl, you have been, probably the most vociferous about your disdain for Washington, D.C. professional sports. But would you become a DC fan again if there was new ownership in with the Commanders? And I'll start with you, Earl.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't because I'm petty. When I cut you off, I cut you off. I'm not into forgiveness and all that. I'm real petty. So to answer your question, no.
Okay, that pretty much clears that up. I hope you change that opinion. I'm hoping that you will at some point, because I just don't think.
I can understand why you would root for your home team, but people act like it's a screwing law. You're breaking the law if you don't like your local team. And I think that's ridiculous. I think it's blasphemous. I think it's whatever word is synonymous to that. It's crazy. Okay, I don't like the home team. So what? People act like I'm a criminal or something. I don't root for losers. So I'm wrong because I don't root for losers? It's crazy.
Well, you used to like them when they were losers and you were rooting for them back in the day. You admitted that.
Yeah, because they had Charlie Taylor and Bobby Mitchell. They had some black people on their team, so I was pulling for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we opened up that. We opened that one up.
I like it when we open it, though.
We'll
get them back.
Gentlemen, your thoughts on Dan Snyder?
Mine. Look, I would like to see an ownership change. I mean, I would, but he's the owner, so we'll see what happens. I also will say, if anybody went through anybody's books with a fine-tooth comb, who knows what you might find. So it's unfortunate.
Let me ask you this, David and Larry. Maybe you guys may know, maybe you may not. Of course, we already know the most crookedest people in the world are politicians, Congress, and Senate. They're all a bunch of crooks. But would they actually send a letter to the Federal Trade Commission if they didn't have any snippets of proof?
Just a thought on what you're saying. We don't know what's gone on exactly with the Washington Commanders and Dan Snyder, but at some point, when you look at all the litany of negative things that are connected to Snyder, whether it's sexual harassment, we haven't even really gotten into that. That's still kind of being hidden. But as they look under the covers of the Washington Commanders operations, it's an ugly scenario. And again, I lived in Washington, the greater Washington, D.C. area for 25 years. I was not a big fan of the team, but by the same token, my kids still live there. And I would like to see the football team have a better outcome and a better owner and an owner who is more ethical and moral. And right now, that person is not named Dan Snyder. Larry.
I have a distinction between the team and the owner. I think they're two different things. I would like for the home team. Now I'm kind of a mixture of Chuck Ederall. I might be even called a fair weather fan. They've got to earn my time and emotions. I have no emotions. They lose, they lose. I have very few emotions for sports in general. I mean, I like the Washington teams. I want them to be successful, but if they don't, they just don't. Daniel Snyder, I would like him gone because he's been the owner of the team and they haven't been successful. And some of it has been his doing. All right. I don't know why Congress is so interested in this situation. I'm really not sure why. It's a matter between the league. Now, if Congress's goal is to go back to the NFL and say, if you want this antitrust exemption, you got to get all your people in order, that's a different thing. I don't know why they care about refunding people or the financial stuff, not paying their fair share to the NFL. I don't know why they care about that. The NFL owners should care about it. Somebody suggested maybe all the teams are kind of doing the same thing. That's why they're not kicking them out. The sexual harassment is definitely bad. I mean,
It is.
that's something that should be addressed. But I'll also say, why do we even have cheerleaders there? I mean, unlike high school and college, they don't get the crowd and saying cheers and pumped up. They're simply there for objects that people look at.
Well, I think you can blame the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders for that. They were the first in the NFL to shake their
Moneymakers. I said it.
But pro fans don't. I mean, it's a whole different when you're in college and high school when they'll get the crowd saying cheers and everybody up. That doesn't happen at pro games.
I understand. All right, gentlemen. Any closing thoughts that you might have as we ponder the sports week and the week past and the week forward?
Well, I'll say one. And since people can't attack me, I'll feel safe in saying this. I'm going to talk about the MVP. All right. It needs to be the best player, period. Irrespective of the team he's on, how well his team does. It's an individual award. So if his team is in last place and he's the best player, whether it's Giannis or whoever, Giannis is playing for the Wizards and they don't make the playoffs or they barely make the playoffs, I'm not going to punish Giannis. If he's the best player, he's the best player. That's simple. If he's the best player in the world, David, like you say, he should be the MVP. I think this year is it's a number of guys that we talk about, the Joker, Embiid, any of those guys could get it. I'm fine with it. But I'm not going to give them credit if they're on a good team. And I'm not going to hold it against them if they're on a bad team because it's an individual award. All right. As far as the coach of the year, I think that's a team accomplishment. So I think you have to consider how the team does there. But the MVP, just give it to the best player. And this is in all sports. I rest my case.
Wow, I like that.
Well
I thought you were going to say something though. I thought you were going to say you thought LeBron James was the best.
There's no reason why he shouldn't be considered this year. I don't think he had the best season this year, but I don't think he should be eliminated simply because his team didn't play well.
All right, well said.
I don't want to make mine a closing comment per se, but I want to make one quick comment, and that was about baseball.
Will be a closing comment.
Okay, though. Baseball. The other night, Clayton Kershaw threw 7 perfect innings, not just a no-hitter, but perfect innings. Got every batter out for 7 straight innings, and the coach did not let him complete the game. I don't know, man. I just thought that was crazy. And in fact, I thought if I were Clayton Kershaw, who has done everything in baseball you can possibly do, everything, and maybe the second best player ever, or pitcher ever in the Dodger history, next to maybe Sandy Koufax. But I don't know how he would have got that ball out of my hand. I like to see if I could go ahead and throw a perfect game. I just wanted to make that comment.
That's a good point. He only threw 80 pitches at that point.
That's unbelievable. Pitches. Baseball. Woo.
Good thought. Earl.
No, I don't have any comments since we can't dispute anyone else's closing comments. I don't have any comments.
You could have gone after mine.
All right. Let me close with these thoughts on the WNBA. WNBA the other night hosted its draft, and it was live on ESPN. And the WNBA, of course, has the best female players in the world playing their game. WNBA has more than 20 years of existence. but the players continue to be paid relative pittance, not for the common man, but pittance in the sports world. And right now we have a woman who is in Russia. We don't even know what's going on with Brittany Griner, but she's playing in Russia, making over $1 million a year to supplement the paltry salary that she gets from the WNBA, because the WNBA will not pay its players. I think we have to look and fix that. We need our American young ladies playing in America, making good money. And part of that is a TV contract. ESPN hosted the All-Star, hosted the draft. Well, ESPN ought to ante up a little bit more for the television rights of the WNBA and help those young ladies make more money. That's my thought. Anyway, gentlemen, it's been real. It's been a good discussion. Been good to see you once again. Real Fellas Talk Sports on April the 12th, 13th, 2022. Gentlemen, we'll see you again next week. Thanks.
Good job, Mr. Burnett.
Thank you.